The tractor stood still in the middle of the lush green rice fields, its red paint glowing beneath the warm sunlight. The ground was damp, reflecting the blue sky and drifting white clouds like a natural mirror. It was a peaceful countryside morning, the kind of day that seemed to carry both hope and struggle in equal measure. A family stood around the tractor, their clothes far too formal for the muddy earth, yet their presence filled the place with warmth. The man leaned over the machine, his hands gripping a wrench as he worked carefully on the exposed engine. His long brown hair moved gently with the breeze, his beard shadowing a face both tired and determined. He wore a gray suit, the sleeves of his white shirt rolled up, the blue tie slightly loosened. His posture showed dedication, as though fixing the tractor was more than just a mechanical task, it was a matter of pride and responsibility. His eyes carried a quiet strength, but a faint smile touched his lips, revealing the love he carried for those who stood nearby. Beside him stood a woman, her brown wavy hair falling softly on her shoulders, her presence serene and steady. She wore a blue suit with a white blouse, her boots shielding her from the mud. Her hands were folded in front of her, and though she was calm, her eyes followed every movement of the man with tenderness. There was something unspoken in her gaze, love mixed with respect, trust wrapped in silence. She did not need to say anything. Her smile said it all. I am with you, always. Just a few feet away, two young girls filled the scene with laughter. One with bright red braided hair, dressed in a small gray suit dress, stomped playfully in the mud, her boots splashing water. Her laughter was pure and infectious, carrying across the fields like music. The other, with straight brown hair and a small black suit dress, stood close to her sister, smiling with the same carefree joy. They held onto each other's hands, their bond as strong as the roots of the rice plants around them. This was no ordinary family photograph. It was a portrait of love and sacrifice. The man had once lived far from the countryside, in the heart of the city, where polished shoes and office buildings defined his days. His suit had once been a symbol of boardrooms and business meetings. Yet now, here he was, knee-deep in the mud, repairing an old tractor with the kind of care one usually reserves for fragile treasures. He wasn't born a farmer, but he had chosen this life. Not for himself, but for his family. When the woman's father grew old, the farm began to crumble. The land that had fed generations stood at risk of being sold, its legacy fading into the past. She had grown up here, her childhood filled with mornings in the fields and evenings chasing fireflies by the water. This farm was her heartbeat. And when she told the man, the love of her life, that she couldn't bear to let it go, he didn't hesitate. He left behind the comfort of the city, the bright future of corporate success, and the applause of colleagues who thought he was destined for something greater. What they never understood was that greatness isn't measured by titles or paychecks, but by the sacrifices one makes for love. So he came here. He traded glass towers for rice fields, polished floors for muddy boots, and boardroom debates for the quiet struggle of keeping an old tractor alive. Every day was hard. But every day, he chose this life because he had chosen her. And in choosing her, he had chosen love. The woman never forgot what he gave up. She stood beside him, not just as his wife, but as his partner in this new chapter. When others doubted, she reminded him of his strength. When the weight of the fields pressed heavy on his shoulders, she smiled, reminding him why they were here. Her sacrifice had been different, not the city, not the career, but the constant burden of guilt that he had left his world for hers. And yet, together, they found balance in the soil, as if the land itself honored their devotion. The children, too young to understand sacrifice, felt its results every day. They lived in a world where laughter grew as freely as the crops, where their parents' love was woven into every moment. For them, the tractor was not just a machine, it was the heartbeat of their family's story. That morning, as the man tightened the last bolt, he glanced at his wife. She caught his eye, her smile deepening, and for a moment, time stilled. The children's laughter echoed around them, the fields swayed in the breeze, and everything seemed to whisper a single truth. Love is not about what you keep, but about what you give. He wiped his hands, smudging oil on his suit jacket, and stood tall. The tractor roared back to life, its engine loud and steady, echoing across the land. The girls clapped and cheered, their faces glowing with pride. The woman stepped closer, her hand brushing his arm gently. He leaned slightly toward her, whispering softly, "We'll make it through." She nodded, her eyes glistening. In that muddy field, surrounded by crops and clouds, stood a family bound not by wealth, not by perfection, but by sacrifice and love. Their story was not written in grand gestures or dramatic speeches, but in the quiet choices they made every single day. The choice to stay. The choice to fight. The choice to love. And perhaps that is the greatest legacy of all.